Greetings, mortals, and welcome to AFK Arena.
So I'm going to make a few just like introductory videos about this game that I've been playing for a while and I think is pretty cool. And this first video is going to be talking specifically about the combat system because I think the combat system is pretty interesting. However, before we get into anything else, I just want to say that if you have an addictive personality or any sort of gambling problems or any other similar things that might make it so that you have like the desire to spend a bunch of money in a video game, don't play this game. I don't understand the mechanics that make people like waste huge amounts of money in these games. I know those mechanics exist. I know that some people are very susceptible to those kinds of tactics. Don't touch this. Okay, it's a fun game to play for free. I think that it's actively hostile to people who give them money, so don't. Okay, if you're Jeff Bezos or someone else who has a shit ton of money that like you can spend $2,000 on a video game that and not care. Right, you just don't care because you have functionally not spent anything. There's no difference between spending $2,000 and not. Sure, do whatever you want. But outside of that particular context, if you feel that there's a risk that you're going to desire to spend money, just don't touch it. That's my stance on this kind of stuff. That's going to be the stance that I take for any of this kind of stuff in the future. That's just something to bear in mind. I haven't given them any money. I would have liked to have been able to give them some money for some like wardrobe stuff, but I haven't seen anything that was cool enough looking that I wanted to actually pay $20 for it. And honestly, I can't justify spending $20 on a cosmetic. I just can't. I can't justify that kind of money. And so for my purposes, I'm never going to be able to really spend money on this game because the fundamentals of the way that they have designed it is to ream huge amounts of money out of the people that give them money and to allow for everyone else to have a really cool experience that you don't need to pay for. That seems to be a trend these days in the way that these kinds of games are designed. So, I don't know how I feel about it. It's complicated. It's complicated. But at any rate, it's great fun for me because I don't have to give them any money. And neither should you. But you can still have a good time. So, what's the gist with the way that this series is going to work? So first, I've decided to sort of split these videos into just different, very niche, specific core components because I started making a video and then there's so much shit in this that it's out of control. So I'm gonna talk about the way that the fundamental game plays. So the game is the part where you actually fight things. And unfortunately, I just made another video that I screwed up in, and I already fought some of these fights in this place. But I'll try to show off some of the mechanics of the way that the battle system works. So fundamentally speaking, the game typically plays out in 5v5 battles. There are some boss fights that are different, which we can get into here, where you're fighting with your team of 5 against an individual target that has an unlimited amount of HP. Technically speaking, sometimes the bosses don't have an unlimited amount of HP. Sometimes the bosses have a finite amount of HP that is... They technically sometimes have a finite amount of HP, but it's an enormous amount, and you usually require multiple fights to kill them. So today I'll focus on the primary mechanisms of the fighting. I don't want to go into this one, actually, because I might accidentally beat it, and I don't want to beat that level yet. So, which is something we'll get into in another video when we get into more of the strategy stuff. So here is just one of the sections of the game. The tower. In this tower, you can only use characters from this particular faction. If I go back to this middle section, which is a different thing, you can see that at the bottom I have all of these different factions that you can use. The fundamentals are the first 4 on this list have factional advantage where they do, I think, 50% extra damage to the next one on the list. So light bearers do 50% more damage to maulers, who do 50% more damage to wilders, who do 50% more damage to graveborn, who do 50% more damage to light bearers. It rotates back. These two deal 50% increased damage to each other. So both factions have a factional advantage against each other. These characters tend to be like gods, and they tend to have like really powerful, unique effects. They're not necessarily better than the heroes that are in these groups. A lot of the characters in these are incredibly important characters. Saurus, for instance, is like the best boss damage dealer in the entire game. But a lot of unique like support utility in particular comes from these characters in these two factions. The Dimensionals are the last faction, and these are like limited availability heroes that come into play. I have Joker and Makoto from Persona 5, and they have recently implemented mechanics that allow you to get the old ones on a pseudo-permanent basis now. So, but generally speaking, if you don't get the Dimensionals when they first become available, you lose access to them, except through borrowing them and using them on a temporary basis. But they did recently unlock a new mechanic that allows you to get them permanently, as long as you have someone on your friends list who has them. You can basically borrow them on a long-term scale from that person, and I think you can loan out like 5 copies or something like that of the same hero. It's something along those lines. Anyway. But the basic gist is, so there are ways to get some of the older ones, and those might expand as time passes. They might not. I don't actually know. At any rate, the fundamental gameplay is all the heroes have different abilities that they'll use. So you see the two people in the back there. They actually she starts off the fight up in the air and dashes at the person on the other side. So this character here, Athalia, is on both of these corners. So at the start of the fight, she's going to dive Belinda, which is this character, the one that I just made disappear, and Makoto at the top. Those two will dive there. The one in the middle has this whole thing where damage that he receives gets sent over to his enemies, and when he dies the first time, he comes back to life. He's got like a whole bide thing. Like if you think Onyx Pokemon, he has a bide mechanic that also allows him to not die from it. So he has an endure effect that's tied to it. So you'll do a bunch of damage to him, and then he'll blow up your whole team with the bide damage. It's really cool. So this is a particularly convoluted and difficult battle to deal with. There's multiple backline heroes. Sylvina is this character here. And she teleports to the lowest defense target and does a shit ton of damage at the very start of the fight. And then she warps around. She does a lot of damage and warps around and shit like that for the rest of the fight as well. But Sylvina's awesome. I love Sylvina. It's too bad she's a fodder hero, but that's beside the point. So the basic gist is that each of these heroes is going to just have a bunch of different abilities that they're using, and they interact in pretty interesting ways, and there's crowd control, and like you have support characters who are for healing, and you have support characters who are for increasing the damage that the other heroes do. You have characters that are more for like a carry. You have all these different things. Like Belinda is really a glass cannon. She does sort of glass cannon-y AoE damage. The Rosalind, the maid character in front of her, follows a person around and is actually a very tanky character herself. She takes, I think, like 40% reduced damage as long as she has someone that she's following, which is always, basically, until she's the last person alive. And heals them and gives them bonus stats, and then when she uses her ultimate ability, she gives it to the other person. But the basic gist of the combat is that it just plays on its own. Every character has like a preset thing that they're going to do. They have a set they have like basically a rotation that they'll go through that's based off of how much haste they have. So they have all their different abilities that they'll use, but it's fundamentally similar to Ogre Battle 64. There is also an ultimate system, so you can see that I have it on auto right now. If I was surviving long enough for anyone to get off their ultimate, when they got off their ultimate, they would, when they got it, their energy bar, which is the bottom bar, filled, they would use their ultimate automatically, rather than me having to click on it. But that's not going to happen on that battle, because that battle is exceptionally difficult. You'll note a couple of things about this fight. So first of all, there are two characters that crowd control at the very start of the fight because they go over, launch over, and do a shit ton of damage and then CC the target. They basically, like, she's great. She launches over to them, does a fuck ton of damage, and then she starts just juggling them around. She just starts tossing them across the battlefield. Let's see if you can probably see it with Makoto here. It's awesome. So she's teleporting in, she blasts her, then she knocks her into the middle of the room. And the thing is, that's a whole combo that she's doing. She will keep it up. So she hits like 4 or 5 times of that. She didn't get the chance to because she did so much goddamn damage that she actually killed me before she got the full combo off. But she just like launches people. It's such an awesome character, so much fun. I don't have her built because of a lot of reasons. It's difficult to build Celestials, but she is a very fun character. And even with her not built, sometimes you can use her to really great effect where it's like, just CC a character for the first 4 seconds of the fight, and that's enough. That's sufficient. Because in addition to CCing them, she's also moving them toward the middle of the arena, so that can be very useful. It's a whole thing. So I like that there's like there's a lot of strategy to, like, in this fight, because it's a mirror fight, doing stuff like moving Estrilda down doesn't really change much, but you can see that she knocks the person who's directly in front of her back into the back row, and that's something that we will come back to here. So this team that I've got right now is a reasonably standard Lightbearers team. I don't think it's standard to keep using Belinda this late in the game, but my Belinda's like super fucking stacked, so I haven't. And also Rosalind is currently a little annoying to use because I have to manipulate my gear to make it so that it works. Because she follows the strongest character on your team, which means that if you get too much gear to one of your frontline heroes, she doesn't go to the right person. It's a whole thing. But anyway. So the basic strategy for how this fight works, can I see my, can you see? Yes, okay, so if I click over here, then you can actually see it, that's great. So the basic way that this fight works is, at the start of the fight, this character here puts down a bunch of healing potions, and actually an energy potion as well, but the healing potions are the primary thing, that basically other characters will be able to heal themselves by using for 50% of their max HP. So that's what this character here is doing off the bat. The other thing is that at the very start of the fight, he has some sort of weird immunity when he puts down his table that seems to make it so that he's invulnerable to like certain types of burst damage at the very beginning of the fight. I don't know the details of how that works. It's not actually listed in his abilities anywhere, and I haven't bothered to go like find a proper analysis of it. So I don't know the exact specifics on it, but it's kind of cool. In this fight, it's not going to be relevant. So this character here does the knockback, as we've seen. And the knockback has a couple of interesting effects. Because of the fact that she's knocking this character back, Belinda is actually going to launch an AoE projectile. And usually, because of the knockback, she's going to target this character as opposed to this person who she would normally do, because the knockback knocks them behind this person. And I think that's going to happen in this case, particularly because this guy's going to run forward. But that's fine. And what that can result in is, under certain circumstances with certain large heroes, she'll knock them back to here, and then they'll start moving forward. Belinda will hit them with the AoE, and it'll hit all 3 of these characters, and it's glorious. So Estrilda is knocking this character back. That simultaneously has the effect of preventing this melee character from doing much at the very start of the fight, as well as getting them in position for some other cool stuff. This character here, Gwyneth, has the ability to basically, she fires bows, and if she does her lightning arrow, which is a proc, but it's guaranteed proc right now on her first shot because of stuff that we don't need to get into right now, but it's guaranteed for her first shot for me right now. She will automatically hit everyone who's on the back line with her lightning and her fire arrow at the same time. So if this character gets knocked back by a Strilda, Gwyneth on her first arrow hits all 4 of them. Now there are circumstances where that doesn't happen. The attack comes out pretty late, so these people being melees, they might move out of range, etc., etc. And I don't have access to one of the characters that makes it happen a lot faster, because this is light bearers only for right now. This character is a healer and a tank. They will throw out heals to either themselves or other people, and they just sort of sit behind their shield when they during other times, and they have a knockdown. They have a lot of cool effects, but I don't have the coolest effect that they eventually get. This character over here will actually grab this character, and it'll be interesting to see how that interaction happens, because that can be either very good for me or very bad for me, depending. But this person's pretty tanky, so it's probably going to be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and we can sort of like go through like some of the shenanigans that are happening. So you can see the arrow from Gwyneth comes out, hits a lot of people. All the people with the fire under their feet got hit. So the person at the bottom did not actually get hit by that. This is so weird looking at the 2 different screens. So we've already taken down one of the enemies, and now the ultimates start coming out. This person from before that we saw, I'm going to pause this. You see this glowing... So these people all have a barrier that's been given by Lucius. This person here is this guy, and because he's doing his ult right now, he's desynced from where his orb is, but it's fine. This invulnerability bubble means that he can't be touched by basically anything. He can't be crowd controlled. He can't be hurt. Nothing bad can happen to him. And that's all, going on. But in a few seconds, that will wear off. So we're currently using Gwyneth's ult, and Gwyneth, after she uses her ult, immediately fires 2 shots. That is very cool. This is the bide effect that this guy's using right now. So all of the people that are near him are about to take a shit ton of damage, and it looks like that actually missed everyone except for Lucius. So this is so cool watching this on 1x mode. I'm usually on 4x speed because I can follow things, but it's kind of interesting playing on 1x. So we're now doing a shit ton of damage. He's doing his bide, and because he had already used it, he wasn't invulnerable to actually being killed during his bide, and so he just died. So there you go. So that's the basic gist of the combat system. I'll just pop into this one. So in this fight, this guy in the front line is a tank. You can see he's dual wielding shields, which is pretty fucking badass. This guy will start off the fight with some bad shit. And you can see, actually, my party's gonna be so hard countered by this that I'm gonna definitely show this just so you can see like the opposite of what just happened. So my party is about as powerful as it was before. The enemy party is about as powerful as it was before. Last match was, I feel, pretty one-sided. Like, I had 4 people alive at the end. This one is going to be more one-sided. I don't think that I'm going to take out a single enemy in this. It's going to be great. So in addition to them having the faction bonus, because of the thing, you'll see that Nara, the character with the hook, just hooked Gwyneth and obliterates Gwyneth. I'm actually doing better than I anticipated, but oh yeah, I'm not on quadruple speed, so this is still the first 15 seconds. So then Rowan goes down, and then the healer's trying to keep himself alive, and good fucking luck, everyone dies. We've got the archer just running up in the air. It's glorious. So then everyone dies, and we get defeated. Now, there are ways for me to make this go a little bit better for me, but this is actually a really hard fight, because if I move Gwyneth down, then she can only hit these... Can you see my... No. Yes. Then she can only hit these 2, or, well, these 3, I guess. She can hit these 3, but who cares about hitting this guy, right? He's a fucking tank. So you can only hit these 3. You can't actually hit the person at the top. If I move her up to here, she can hit the person at the top, but she can't hit the person at the bottom. Now, this is interesting because the person at the bottom starts off the fight with a crowd control ability, and I think periodically uses it during the fight, which sucks. And then the person at the top, if you let her get her ultimate off, and she's not taking a shit ton of damage when she gets her ultimate off, you lose. It's over. You need to get her dead before she uses her ult, or burst her down instantly when she starts her ult, because once she's got her ult on the field, it's just going to be doing passive damage to everyone at a huge rate. These characters are twice as powerful as mine. this character is a hard carry for like situations where you have when you're more powerful than the enemy, because she can life steal, and her ult just deals blanket damage to the entire enemy team. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna lose this, but I'm gonna activate it anyway. I like the idea of just sort of like showing off like dying horribly and stuff like that. But this is the oh whoops, I should have moved Lucius to the middle. This one doesn't even really count, because I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna lose when I do it, even if I reorganize just this group in a slightly different way to sort of maximize my chances. Like, I think that if I do this is probably about the best I can expect. Maybe I'm actually gonna do this. So we're gonna do this just for the hell of it. And we actually interrupt Shamira when we do that. We're not gonna win this. No, we might. We're actually getting more healing out than I would have expected. Holy shit, are we gonna win this? Well, there's that guy dead. So we're not getting any more crowd control out of him. We might actually win this. We've got a pretty massive amount of AoE and healing going on right now. We have the Shamira ult going and just mutilating my entire party. So that's a problem. Oh god, see how my party's just taking so much damage from the AoE? Oh man. Shamira needs to die. Oh, there's the ult. I think we're gonna win this. Oh, she's not dead. Make her dead. Oh, is it gonna happen? I think we're actually gonna win this. I'm surprised. Like, I'm legitimately surprised, but we're gonna win this because this is gonna kill Shamira right here. Wow, we have more healing throughput than I realized. I might be able to do some of that other cool stuff soon. So anyway, this is the basic gist of the combat system of the game. There's all of these different abilities the characters have. They interact in really cool ways. They each have their own ultimates, they each have their own normal abilities, and they each have their own. They each have auto attacks. Different characters are better at different things. Gwyneth is a character who is a hard carry. So Gwyneth is the archer character. This character is like a hard carry, where you build your entire team around her. She's that critical to the way that the game plays that when you are designing a Gwyneth team, it's a Gwyneth team. She is the dominant character. She does so much damage. She's very impactful, very important. She has massive weaknesses. She's very bad if the enemies dive at you. She's very bad if the enemies pull you to them. And she's also very bad if the enemies move around too much. She's got a lot of issues that make her susceptible to harm, but you can build your team to maximize for her, and that team that I'm doing there is basically built to maximize Gwyneth. Gwyneth starts coming into her own at certain points. She can work really well early game at certain points, and then in the mid game I feel like she falls off a bit. But bear in mind I got bad luck with Gwyneth, and it took me a long time to get her ascended. So she was behind my other heroes in terms of their raw power, which means that her damage output was heavily lowered, and she wasn't able to carry the way she normally would. But her, compared to, like, as an example, where's Estrilda? Where's Estrilda? There she is. Estrilda is a character who's entirely support-oriented. She doesn't necessarily look like it. She looks like a knight, but she's reasonably moderately tanky. She's pretty squishy, but she's moderately tanky. But predominantly what she does is she applies a bunch of buffs to the entire party that are very powerful. But if you look at her actual damage output personally, she does nothing herself. She does no damage herself. It's all like 30% damage to the entire party at once kind of shit, right? And she also brings some cool crowd control utility, and obviously when paired with certain characters, like when she's paired with Gwyneth, she knocks the enemy back, and then the enemy takes a fuck ton of damage from the lightning arrow. So she's contributing damage to the party, it's just she's not doing it by her personal damage output, right? So you have different characters. Some of them are more carry-oriented, some of them are heroes where you really need them to be powered up to really have them be very useful, and some of them are simply not. So like this character is incredibly useful if you've got it maxed out, is basically useless at Elite Plus like I have him here. This character, a little useful at Elite Plus where she is right now, but only in very niche utilities, whereas if she was higher, she would have like some really awesome utility because she needs to be able to survive a couple of hits to be able to get off her full intro combo. And by the way, I would just like to point out her arms are blades, but so are her legs. If she disappeared, okay, there we go. If you look at her legs are actually like fucking blades. Those are like lances, which I find very cool. Anyway, very cool character design to me. So that character is someone who is, I wouldn't say a carry, but they're a person who needs to be kept up somewhat. They're like a semi-carry, right? From like Dota terminology. They are like a semi-carry where it's like, it's good to invest in them and they might need a little bit of investment in order to be any good. But they don't need like a ton of investment, and they're not the character that's going to carry the whole party, right? And then, though they can carry the entire enemy party, because the entire enemy party is 3 times your power level, so she could just one-shot everyone. She's really rough on the enemy scene. And let's see here. And then you have characters like this character, who is amazing to bring along without any investment whatsoever, because she brings... Which ability is it? This ability, which increases the haste of your entire party at the very start of the fight. Even if she dies instantly, she's giving 35 haste to Gwyneth at the start, and she's like a core component of like the Gwyneth comps. She's actually a core component of a lot of comps, because one of the things that's kind of interesting about her, so if you look at this character, so this character has a thing where, so Ishrilda does something similar, but this character has an ability where he will suck 3 of the enemy heroes directly in front of him and then attack them. That suction move takes a little while to get off. So if you pair him with her, he'll do it faster. And since he'll do it faster, you can basically beat another team comp that has him but not her by basically... He only does it at the very beginning of the fight. So if he's canceled while he's doing it, he's never going to do it. And so, like, you have the ability to counter things by being like, it's kind of like in like a Pokemon game where it's like, if you have like just a little, you have enough speed, you outspeed the enemy, and all of a sudden, like, your like outspeeding basically makes the difference in a DPS comp, where it's like, this is just a flash in the pan, do enough damage to one-shot you or die. And you can have those kinds of compositions. You can build more stamina-based comps. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. Been really enjoying the game. So that's the basic, overview of like the combat system or whatever the fuck this video turned into. And I'm gonna end here because this is like 30 minutes almost already. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this little video. And later, folks.